This for your prayer to be effective in the spirit. What are the ingredients? What are the elements that should be involved in your prayer life? Praise the living Jesus. Number one is your motive. A man that will pray effectively must pray with a correct motive. Your motive. Your motive speaks about the reasons why you are pressing to God. The reason why you are praying. Let's check the book of Matthew chapter 6. We are going to read verse 5 and verse 7. Matthew chapter 6, verse 5 and verse 7. Is it projected? Matthew chapter 6, verse 5 and verse 7. Jesus began to teach about the Beatitudes. He began to teach about the matters of the kingdom. And when he was to teach about prayers, he said, and when thou prayest, all right, the Bible says, thou shalt not be as the hypocrites are, which means we have prayer in the likeness of the hypocrites. There is a way an hypocrite pray, and the Bible did justice to that to show us how the hypocrites pray. The Bible says, for they love to pray standing in the synagogue and in the corners of the street, that they may be seen of men. Verily I say unto you, they have their reward. Verse 7 now. Verse 7. The Bible says, but when ye pray, use not vain repetitions, as the heathen do. So there is a way, the hearten, there is a way they pray. The Bible says, for they think. Can you tell your neighbor, they think? That speaks of the motive. Their motive to pray is that they think that they will be heard for their much speaking. So peradventure, you see a man that is on a journey of prayer, and the man is praying for 10 hours every day. If the motive is not set aright, if you think that God answers by the reason of the length of your prayer, you are already praying as a hypocrite. Am I saying praying for a very long time is wrong? No. In fact, there are realms you cannot attain until you master how to pray for a long time. But the motive must not be based upon that you think that your prayer is being heard by God by the reason of its length. Your motive is the first element that you must hold when you pray. The first element, you must be able to check by the Spirit. Are my motives correct for this prayer? Are my motives correct for this spiritual journey that I am embarking on? Your motive, very, very important. Number 2, faith. Elements of effectual prayer. Because it is not just about praying, it is about praying effectively. It is not just about praying, it is by praying effectively. Can your prayer shift things in the spirit? Can you touch the heart of God by the reasons of your prayer? Number 2, the second element for an effectual prayer life, an effectual prayer structure is faith. James chapter 1 from verse 5 to verse 7. James chapter 1. Verse 5 to verse 7. The Bible says, if any of you lack wisdom, let him ask of God, that giveth to all men liberally, and upbraideth not, and it shall be given him. But let him ask in what? Let him ask in what? In faith, nothing wavering. For he that wavereth is like a wave of the sea, driven with the wind and tossed. Verse 7. Can we read together, everybody? For let not that man think that he shall receive anything of the Lord. So, Apostle James was telling us that if your life does not capture if your prayer life does not have an element of faith, if it does not have an element of faith, you cannot receive from the Lord. If your prayer life does not have an element of faith, that is, number 1, you must believe. When I speak about faith, I mean believe